during the Hillsborough County Board of County Commissioners meeting this week, 10 people spoke out against recent increases in electricity bills. That's as 2 new rate hikes for Tampa Electric customers go into effect this month due to fossil fuel and storm costs. Commissioners voted unanimously in favor of drafting a letter to the state's Public Service Commission, which approved these increases to ask for local customer service meetings rather than just holding typical meetings in Tallahassee. Brooke Ward is with the Food and Water Watch, and she says she's excited that the commissioners, quote, heard the cries of people because she says, quote, too long, Florida has rubber-stamped fossil fuel rate increases.
It is a first step. There are many more things that we're going to need Hillsborough County to do in order to truly help to shift the policy and impact the rate hikes that are widely and deeply felt, not only in Hillsborough County, but statewide.
Hillsborough commissioners are expected to vote on a final letter during its land use meeting on Tuesday. Because of a prolonged drought, Florida officials are urging residents to be prepared for wildfires. WMNF's Chris Young reports Florida Commissioner of Agriculture and Florida Forest Service leadership held a press conference yesterday in Hillsborough County.
Wildfire season is here earlier than expected. Director of Florida Forest Service Rick Dolan is anticipating that this season will be particularly bad.
Central and South Florida are extremely dry. The further south you go, the drier it is. Southwest Florida is the driest part of the state, around the Fort Myers area. Very dry right now. Lightning season is right around the corner, and wildfire activity in the state is expected to increase.
Florida Commissioner of Agriculture Wilton Simpson warned that some local resources may be maxed out.
Forestry firefighters and our local assets, local first responders are the best in the country. We do this every year. They will get maxed out from time to time because of what we believe is coming. And that's why we're asking everybody to be so vigilant.
Forest Service Director Dolan also acknowledged the toll he expects the season to take on his firefighters.
Beginning of wildfire season, they're all fresh and ready to go. But when you get 2 or 3 months into it, day in and day out, it does break you down a little bit.
The Florida Forest Service encourages Floridians to prepare for the season by visiting bewildfirereadyfl.com. For WMNF News, I'm Chris Young.
A bill moving in the legislature would override most aspects of the relationship between Florida landlords and tenants. As Margie Menzel reports, it would eliminate local ordinances such as the Tenant Bill of Rights in Miami-Dade and Hillsborough counties.
Senate Bill 1586 would replace local requirements for landlord-tenant relationships with state ones. It would reopen all manner of issues: fees and security deposits, the terms and conditions of rental agreements, the screening process used by landlords to approve renters, the rights and responsibilities of landlords and tenants, and disclosures concerning the premises. Here's Senator Jay Trumbull, a Panama City Republican and the bill's Senate sponsor.
There is a ordinance in Dade County that says if a renter decides that they want to do an improvement on their property, that they can balance that against their rent with no controls, no permits, no things like that. And so what we're trying to accomplish are preempting those types of things, starting at the state level.
According to the Miami-Dade Office of Housing Advocacy, the renter can improve the property and deduct it from the rent, but only if certain conditions are met, such as a written 7-day notice that repairs are needed, the landlord failed to make them, and the tenant has at least 2 estimates, before and after photos, and receipts. Leon County Commissioner David O'Keefe spoke against Trumbull's measure.
Floridians have made it clear to local leaders like me, won't you do something to help us afford the rent? We are drowning. Keep our families off the street. And localities have answered with solutions, and your bill would take those answers away from us and our neighbors. Why? For what?
The bill passed 8-3 and is now in the Senate Rules Committee. Its House counterpart, HB 1417, has passed 2 committees. A recent USA Today Network Florida investigation found Trumbull is one of many lawmakers with ties to the real estate industry. The network was unable to reach him for comment. For WFSU News, I'm Margie Menzel.
Yesterday at University of South Florida, about a dozen students with Students for a Democratic Society protested a law to ban majors and minors in gender studies, critical race theory, and related studies that focus on teaching diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Universidad sí, DeSantis no.
HB 999 has got to go.
Universidad sí, DeSantis no.
HB 999 has got to go.
And that means diversity, yes, DeSantis, no. Last month, 4 protesters were arrested while demonstrating against the same legislation. A 5th student, Lauren Pinero, majors in sociology and minors in women's and gender studies, and was retroactively charged on Tuesday with 2 misdemeanors and a felony, like the so-called Tampa 4. According to SDS. Victoria Hinckley is a junior also focusing on sociology and gender studies at USF.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's like exactly what HB 999 is aiming to do. You know, it's aiming to like silence people who are, one, standing up to DeSantis' attacks on diversity, but also talking about diversity in general. And that's what we were there doing. And as you could see in like the videos and just like witness accounts of what happened, we were actively silenced.
Hinckley suggested the arrests may have been intended as a deterrent, but she said instead they have emboldened their efforts.
I think at least like in SCS, it's kind of fueled our flame to like keep speaking out against attacks on diversity, because that's what we were protesting in the first place, was cuts to diversity. And now it's just this added level of political repression. So it's definitely emboldened people in SDS. But as far as other students on campus, I think for people that have seen like the videos that kind of were circulated, I think they were, you know, really like disgusted that like their own campus police were doing this to students who go to school here. It's like such a disgusting thing to see that happens on your own campus.
House Bill 999 and the Senate version are both working their way through the legislature. SDS will be holding a statewide rally on April 17th to show solidarity with other Florida colleges and universities experiencing similar concerns. That marks the 58th anniversary of the March on Washington to End the War in Vietnam, which was also organized in part by SDS.
Produced at the studios of WMNF Tampa by Chris Young.